All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to talk about Jermell Charlo, KIETH THURMAN, and Terence Crawford, and also Errol Spence Jr., and what Terence Crawford had to say in an interview that is yet to be posted, but excerpts have been released from Brian Custer of Last Stand with Brian Custer about the situation going on at 147 and 154. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We back talking about this boxing. Brian Custer, the Showtime announcer for Showtime, or the host for Showtime Sports, has done an interview with Terence "Bud" Crawford and asked him a series of questions about the 154-pound division and the 147-pound division. And he makes some very interesting statements, one of which is about Jermell Charlo, and the other one is about Errol Spence Jr. Now, before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber, supporter of the channel, thank you so very much for your continued support. Really does mean a lot. That you support in the super chats and the cash apps and in the super thanks. A lot of people continue to keep the channel floating that way. So thank you guys so much for your continued support. So I'm going to talk about this. Hopefully we'll be getting some fights pretty soon. We have, most of the news around boxing right now is about fights that have not happened, fights that could happen, but very little real talk about fights that are going to happen or have happened recently, because it's just what it is. And one of the big things that we did not get, obviously, is the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight. But what we did get instead is a Terence Crawford versus David Avanation fight. And so there is promotion going on for the David Avanation fight with Terence Crawford. However, it's an indirect type of promotion. It's really a lot of Terence Crawford talking about Errol Spence and what happened in the Errol Spence negotiation, because that's pretty much what everybody that's interested in Terence Crawford right about now is thinking about. It's still a lot of, hangover left from all of that long conversation. So Brian Custer does an interview with him. Now, the entire interview has not been released. This time, we've just gotten different excerpts that have been released by Brian Custer, where he asked Terence Crawford a couple questions, but there's no way that the interview is going to be much off of what he said from that bit that was released. He was asked, if you wanted to fight somebody, who do you want to fight, KIETH THURMAN or Jermell Charlo? And he says very directly and quickly, I want to fight Jermell Charlo, right? And then in the next question that he was asked, he said, who do you think is the next pound for pound #1 fighter in the world? And his answer to that is Errol Spence Jr. Now, where do we go with that? First and foremost, I don't believe the first one, but the second one, I think you're saying so. I just don't think you're giving honest answers, man. Like first and foremost, okay, who do you want to fight, KIETH THURMAN, or do you want to fight Jermell Charlo? I want to fight Jermell Charlo. Well, that runs contrary to everything else you've done in your career. Because when push has come to shove and you've had an option, just say the option of KIETH THURMAN is there and the option of Jermell Charlo is there. When Terence Crawford has picked between two difficult options, he's picked the less difficult between the two. And so take, for example, what he just did when he had a choice between Errol Spence Jr. and David Avanation. Who did he choose? He didn't choose Errol Spence Jr. He chose David Avenation. There's also information that would say, hey, when he was offered a fight between Terence Crawford with him and he and Manny Pacquiao, that he was advised by Bomac not to sign that contract. And so he didn't fight Manny Pacquiao. He went and he fought somebody else. Not sure at the time frame who that was, but seeing as it was not Jeff Horn, because that was for a championship. But if it was at 147 pounds, it was anybody that he fought at 147 pounds is an easier fight than Manny Pacquiao. So you know that is the case right there. However, it does make it sound like you really, really want it. Another problem with that, not the only problem with it, because that is one problem with it. The other problem with it is that Terence Crawford did not move on and try to fight Jermell Charlo like he said he would. He said if he doesn't get this Errol Spence Jr. bout, he wants to fight Jermell Charlo. Well, you didn't accept it, but you didn't go fight Jermell Charlo. You went to go fight David Avenation. And it is what it is. I'm sure in the comment section, there's going to be a lot of people that call me a hater and all of that good stuff, but it's not really going to be a lot of people, because more than likely, most people that are listening to this understand that this is just the facts of what you've done. Unlike Errol Spence Jr., who pretty much every fight is looking for the hardest fight that's available for him and taking fights that are harder fights than he had to take, right? Coming off of a car accident against after Sean Porter, he did not have to fight Danny Garcia coming right off of that. Because Danny Garcia is a very difficult fight for anybody, right? He's a tough fight for anybody. And with that type of counter punching you have and that skill and that much of experience, if you're not fully confident in your ability to beat this dude, you don't take that bout. You go call up Lamont Peterson and try to get him out of retirement. You try to get somebody, maybe fight a Sergey Lipinets or somebody like that you can just mug, right, and get out of there. You don't take a Danny Garcia. Then coming off of a torn retina with Manny Pacquiao, he didn't say, oh, well, let me wait around. My torn retina is better. Let me still run it back with Manny Pacquiao. Even though Manny Pacquiao lost to Yordenis Ugas, he goes for the guy that beat Manny Pacquiao, beats Yordenis Ugas. That is not what Terence Crawford has done throughout his career. So I'm not buying it. I don't buy that he wants to fight Jermell Charlo, and I'm not buying that he wants to fight Errol Spence. Now, when he's asked, who do you think is the pound for pound number one? Who's the next pound for pound number one? And he says, Errol. I don't know, man. I think that maybe just be, maybe he believes that. And if he does believe that he's like that, maybe that's one of the reasons why we didn't get the fight. Right now, I'm telling you, I'm being very cynical with this stuff because I've listening to as much tape on Terence Crawford as is out there on this situation. It just goes all over the place. And it just seems at times he's just telling you the things that he wants you to hear in that particular moment, right? But at the end of the day, I'm just not forgetting the conversation about, do you see this fight happening with Errol Spence Jr. and him saying, no, I don't see it. Now, when this interview comes out, the full interview comes out with Brian Custer, I'm going to be interested to see whether or not when he says, because he leaves the question, are you ducking, did you duck Errol Spence Jr.? And I'm going to already tell you, it's going to be absolutely not. I tried to make the bout. We wanted to make the bout. Some things didn't happen, and we're going to get on it, and try to make it afterwards, right? Now, this is also him literally on something that is going to be shown on a Showtime network. So, I again just equate this more with let's publicize and keep the name out there and the conversation going all the way up into December 10th when he fights David Avenation. But we'll see what actually transpires next, in January and February, or better yet, after Errol Spence Jr. has his next fight, provided he's able to get past Keith Thurman. And that's another thing about, who would you rather fight, Keith Thurman or Jermell Charlo? Well, most likely, or though there's a high likelihood that Errol Spence Jr. is going to be fighting Keith Thurman. And he already kind of ridiculed the idea of Keith Thurman being a difficult fight when he compared Keith Thurman to David Avenation, right? And to say those two are similar, anyway, it's just wild stuff. But look, once these guys get past these 2 fights and they get back into this negotiation again, I'll be optimistic again, but still sour milk right about now. It is what it is. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. With that, I'm out. Deuces.